Hello everyone, and thank you to Braver Angels for asking me to speak tonight. If you're here, I'm sure you know what Prop 50 is already, so I'd like to use my time to lay out the values that led me to support a vote for yes. And I'll begin with this. I am a supporter of independent redistricting commissions. I believe they are one of the best reforms we've made in California politics. And I wish I was not speaking to you all here today asking for a temporary suspension of their work. And I'm not alone in this belief. A recent Common Cause poll from this month showed that 80% of Californians support these commissions and want fairness in their elections. And if every other state in the country embraced these same principles of voting that we do, we wouldn't even be having this conversation today. But California doesn't exist in a bubble. What has happened in Texas makes it clear that partisan politicians are willing to exploit a critical loophole in our system. And here's what I mean. The norms of our country over centuries of elections have held that district maps are supposed to be drawn once every 10 years after the census, so they reflect population shifts fairly. But Texas politicians went back and redrew their maps mid-decade, not because populations change, but for the sole reason of wanting to tilt the balance of power in Congress, which affects everyone in every state. And they can make that monumental decision without the consent of the people. And that is a loophole. States without independent commissions can reopen the redistricting process whenever it benefits their party. And when other states exploit that loophole, it puts California and the values we represent at a disadvantage. That is why Prop 50 is necessary and should be approved. A vote for Prop 50 is not a rejection of the redistricting commission process. It is simply a recognition of the world we are living in right now, and a temporary, I repeat, temporary step to defend California's voice. Until there is a national law holding every state to the same standard, voting yes on Prop 50 is how we protect our democracy. It ensures that fair play in California is not drowned out by unfair power grabs elsewhere. Approving this measure means standing up for the principle that voters, not politicians, should decide the outcome of our elections. Now, I understand this may sound like a contradiction. I'm asking you to support independent commissions by voting to temporarily suspend them. But what opponents of Prop 50 miss is that these issues cannot be looked at only within the borders of California. The principle here is consistency. California has built a fair system, and we continue to stand by it. What has changed here is not our values, but the reality other states are exploiting this loophole to redraw maps mid-decade for raw political advantage. To pretend that this is only about our state while ignoring what's happening elsewhere is to confuse the issue. Supporting Prop 50 means holding true to our principles by refusing to let them be undermined elsewhere. Now, some will say that voting against Prop 50 is the principled position and that it shows a commitment to keeping our independent redistricting commissions untouched. And on the surface, that argument sounds appealing, especially to those of us who value the fairness that these commissions bring. But as I've already said, California does not exist within a bubble. True principle means applying the same standard everywhere, not just here at home. And on that measure, our side is consistent. We continue to stand for independent commissions, and we want every state to follow the same rules. That's why California politicians in Congress have introduced the Redistricting Reform Act, which would ban mid-decade map drawing and require independent commissions in every state. So, I would hope that anyone who speaks against Prop 50 here today, or anywhere else for that matter, will also make clear that they support this federal legislation. Because if the argument is truly about principle, then principle demands standing up for fair maps everywhere, not just when it happens to be politically convenient. In short, principles are important, but principles without pushback is just surrender. A vote of yes on Prop 50 is a vote to push back against those who would be taking advantage of our fair election system. Thank you.